Brenden Slaughter, BeaversEdge.com, joined by Beavers Edge senior writer Ryan Harlan. We're coming to you guys following Oregon State's final scrimmage of fall camp here on a Saturday. Again, thanks for tuning in here for this impromptu Beavers Edge post-practice breakdown. Very interesting session today. We'll kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it again. If you want the full breakdown on everything that happened today, head on over to BeaversEdge.com for all the latest from Ryan and myself. We'll also have interviews coming up today, some good stuff from Ryan Gunderson, Trent Bray, the players. Not quite as much clarification as we would have liked from Trent Bray on injuries, but unfortunately, perhaps, Ryan, that may be just how we have to wade through those waters this season.
Oh, I know, too. And then also, too, I think just because you're prepping for Cal week one, you know, you don't want to give anything away, too, for the start of game week here in a couple weeks. But that's kind of how things go, and it's the nature of the beast itself. And we'll learn more as either the season goes on or until player says something about the injury that they are currently dealing with. So
right.
At least knowing from what Bray had said last time of like, hey, this is my kind of policy around this, and if a player says it, then that's on them to disclose that information themselves.
Sure, and I think obviously, you know, we've seen some questions. I think everyone who's in the know knows the situation we're talking about. We'll just leave it at that for now until we have more information. Again, you can check out Trent Bray's response, direct questions over at our Beavers Edge interviews. But getting into the scrimmage today, Ryan, biggest takeaway right off the bat, we're not going to hide this behind the paywall, is Malik Murphy didn't practice. Yeah. And I think by far and away that kind of set the tone for a very different scrimmage than we saw last week. And really, I think the big overarching themes in this practice, Ryan, we're seeing the guys on the fringe. Can they get into that too deep? Oh, and you know, there were some notable moments today. We'll be covering, you know, some nice plays from some guys who may have played their way into more time today. But it was a definitely marketed shift from like scrimmage tone compared to a week ago.
Oh, I know, and even too decidedly different from last year as well, where we saw the starters play in this second scrimmage. This time around, not so much. And Bray said that was kind of by design, a little bit of how they wanted to run things. There's like a certain threshold of amount of reps that he wants the starters to have throughout the course of fall camp, so that's around like 250-ish and above. And some of those guys there, it's just more of to save them, and then also to keep them fresh ahead of week one. And then for some of these guys that are kind of buried on the depth chart a little bit, for them to get some reps, and some of these guys that are depth pieces currently right now that could potentially push themselves into conversation for a starting spot, to at least get that experience to be able to be relied upon, you know, at the end of the season or middle of the season when injuries do occur, and they are going to occur. That's without a doubt. We've seen it firsthand in fall camp as well. So that's also something too, where these things happen and you need to get guys ready and then next man up kind of mentality.
Absolutely. And again, for the breakdown of the quarterbacks, we saw a lot of Jabari Johnson, a lot of Tristan Taia, a lot of Callan Guttridge today. Again, we'll be breaking that down at Beavers Edge. Different shift in the lines a little bit too. You know, some Ryan, I want to get your thoughts on this too. Some markedly different rotations today. You'll be reflecting that in your report. But for the most part, it really, if I was an Oregon State fan, I'd look at it as a real positive when you just compared last year's scrimmage to now. Trent Bray just talked about how, you know, he mentioned a certain number of guys having at least 250 reps in camp, which is good. And I think for Oregon State fan, Ryan, it's probably guarding against having, you know, a dreaded fall camp injury probably down the stretch. And then, you know, maybe, you know, some of those starters, I'm thinking mostly of a guy like Malik Murphy. He's shown you everything he needs to show you in camp.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, for a guy like Malik, I mean, realistically, does he need the extra reps in the scrimmage?
Yeah.
Not really,
no.
If we're being honest. And that's something there where I think, you know, you want to see a lot more of the strides that Jabari's made over both spring and fall, and then to kind of see what you have in that QB3 position, should you need it for whatever reason. And Callan Guttridge and Tristan Taia both have had some good moments. Tristan is also, you know, at times looked like a freshman learning the playbook for the first time, but has had some solid moments today, and even also too on Thursday as well. So there is a bit there where I think those reps you can divide amongst that 30, where you know, you can save Malik for prepping for week one, and yeah, just kind of almost sort of load manage him a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be key, especially as we see, you know, and then you go back to spring when, you know, Malik and Jabari and Callan all had to go with a lot of reps too, considering that Tristan wasn't in the mix. I'm sure that's a part of it as well. And then, you know, just to switch gears and talk about the defense, again, we'll break down some of the big defensive plays today, including, I'm not going to give it away this time, the standout player who had the pick six today. Definitely got to head over to BeaversEdge.com to see that, because it was a cool pick six. But for the most part, you know, I thought the defense, the edges seemed to catch my eye today. As far as an individual player, like Jaheim Patterson today, made a couple physical plays line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Jaheim, one of the only, probably I would say, guys that you can pencil in as a starter. Taking a lot of reps today on the defensive side of the ball, but, you know, saw him in run support, and also, too, have seen him in coverage, you know, excel there. And I know when we last talked to him, he was leading the clubhouse with 3 interceptions, and he's at least keeping score of that. So there's a good, solid performance from him so far in camp where, like, he's definitely going to be a significant contributor in that secondary. But also we saw a lot of, you know, kind of guys that like a David Madison or Sean Craig who have seen some run, but not an extended amount of time taking reps in a team period environment like this today. So a lot more of, I think, some of those guys in that depth where that secondary is a good spot, and then also too in the edge as well. We talked to Walker Harris earlier, and he got some more extended run as well too. Harris has been a guy that's stood out in spring and also fall, and I think that edge room in particular is really deep to where you can rotate guys in and out pretty comfortably to keep them fresh. Like, I don't, you know, kind of need to see the need of having Nico Taylor out there for almost 90% of the snaps being played, like at least more than half, of course.
Right.
But, you know, like, that's where this depth is at, where I think you can throw any guy in that mix and you'll get production no matter what. So edge is definitely a deep spot too, and we saw a little more of rotation with the inside linebackers. So seeing Aiden Sullivan in there, Clyde Pond, Cord Shaw has kind of come up a little bit, getting some more reps here in kind of the back half of fall camp as well. So not anything from Rajon or Dexter Foster today, but even that depth is pretty solid as well too. Aiden Sullivan also is a guy that contributed pretty early on last year. He's been kind of buried a little bit to a degree, but he's a guy that also too can work himself into a potentially starting spot as well with the strong back half of fall camp here.
And make sure to stay locked into BeaversEdge.com for all the latest from Ryan and myself today. Again, we'll have some different breakdowns, and then obviously getting you guys into next week. Oregon State only has 2 more open practices. They will take an off day for Sunday tomorrow, open practice Monday, Tuesday that Ryan will be back at, and then it's off for the rest of the week, and we're getting ready for the next week and into Cal week. So if you can believe it, folks, game day will be right here behind us, Reser Stadium, and you know it's not quite 7:30 yet, Ryan, so can't say exactly 2 weeks, but we're getting real close. And again, make sure to stay locked into BeaversEdge.com for all the latest. For Ryan Harlan, I'm Brenden Slaughter signing off from Reser Stadium.